Hello everyone, welcome to week 5, Thursday bell work. So for today's bell work, we're going to talk about coordinating conjunctions. These are words that take two ideas, two clauses, or two different words and connect them. For example, the bowl of squid eyeball stew is hot and delicious. So I know that this stew is hot, but it's also delicious. So both of these together describe the stew. Here's another one. The squid eyeball stew is so thick that you can eat it with a fork or spoon. You have a choice that you can eat it with a fork or a spoon. So these coordinating conjunctions are those fanboys we've talked about before. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. We're going to fix the sentence with the coordinating conjunction. So, using a coordinating conjunction when you want to give equal emphasis to two main clauses. This is when you use a coordinating conjunction. The pattern looks like this. We have a main clause, the coordinating conjunction, and another main clause. Like, I hate to waste a single drop of squid eyeball stew, for it is expensive and time-consuming to make. Here's my main clause, wasting a single drop. Here's my coordinating conjunction, for, and this is my other main clause, it is expensive and time-consuming to make. Now these could be two different sentences, but so I can vary my sentences, I use a coordinating conjunction to make it a compound sentence. So on your paper, put number 1, and we're going to do 1A, 1B, and 1C. And I want you to choose the coordinating conjunction, the one word that is the conjunction. That's all. 1A. Rocky terrorizes the poodles next door, yet adores the German Shepherd across the street. Which one is the coordinating conjunction? So you should have chose yet. Yet is the coordinating conjunction. Let's go to the next one. 1B. Rocky, my orange tomcat, loves having his head scratched, but hates getting his claws trimmed. Which one is the coordinating conjunction? And on this one, you should have chosen but. It's one of those coordinating conjunctions. Last one for number 1. Rocky refuses to eat dry cat food, nor will he touch a saucer of squid eyeball stew. Which one is a coordinating conjunction? This time you should have chose nor. All right, let's talk about dependent clauses. So dependent clauses are also called a subordinate clause. They begin with a subordinate conjunction or a relative pronoun, and they contain both a subject and a verb. So this is a combination of words that will not form a complete sentence. It will instead make a reader want additional information to finish the thought. Example, after Amy sneezed all over the tuna salad. Well, Amy is our subject, here is after our subordinate conjunction, and sneezed is our verb. But what happened after she sneezed all over the tuna salad? This is a dependent clause. I need more information to finish the thought. So here's another example. Once Adam smashed the spider. Adam is my subject and smashed is the verb, but this is not a complete sentence. I need more information. What happened when he smashed the spider? I mean, did it run away? Did his sister scream? Was his mom happy? What happened after Adam smashed the spider? And once you attach an independent clause to a dependent clause, you must connect them with a comma. So I can say, once Adam smashed the spider, but it ran away. Or I could say, once Adam smashed the spider and his sister was happy. Okay? I have to put a comma and a conjunction in order to make this sentence correct with punctuation. I can also just put the comma. So I could take this out and say, once Adam smashed the spider, his mom screamed. So all of those combinations work with the punctuation. And I now have this dependent clause and this independent clause smushed together with a comma so that my sentence makes sense to the reader. Okay, it's your turn. So remember that this is a dependent clause. So to add something to it, I'm going to have to put a comma and then an independent clause so that I have more information so that the sentence makes sense to the reader. So the sentence is, and please put a number 2 on your bell work, until Mr. Sanchez has his first cup of coffee. You need to add something to make that make sense. Until Mr. Sanchez has his first cup of coffee. So on your bell work, write an entire sentence using a comma after coffee and add to this sentence for it to make sense. Make sure you have a period at the end. Okay, that was 1 minute. So you should have written until Mr. Sanchez has his first cup of coffee, and then something at the end, comma, he is very grumpy. That makes sense. And I have punctuation here that makes sense as well. Let's go on to our next one. So this is number 3. Again, a dependent clause you have to add something to in order for it to make sense for the reader. So number 3, because Tanya did poorly on her history exam. You're going to have to add something to the end, a comma after exam, and some words to make this dependent clause become a full sentence that makes sense to the reader. All right, so what did you add? Maybe because Tanya did poorly on her exam, comma, she didn't pass the class. Okay, let's move on. And now we're going to combine sentences. Sometimes in your writing, there's a lot of sentences that are fragments or that are just simple sentences, and you need to vary your sentence structure in order to make your writing flow better and to make it more readable. So this is 2 sentences. Rhonda gasped. A 6-foot snake slithered across the sidewalk. Well, how can I make this a more complex or compound sentence? I could say, Rhonda gasped, comma, when a 6-foot snake slithered across the sidewalk. That makes sense. I could also say, and start with a dependent clause, when a 6-foot snake slithered across the sidewalk, Rhonda gasped. Either way is correct. I did not leave off that period. There it is. So this is correct, but it's too simple. We want to vary our sentences. So I can either use this comma conjunction, or I can use this dependent clause, a comma, and add the second part to it. All right, your turn. Combine these sentences to make one sentence. Either use a comma conjunction or a dependent clause and a comma. The sentence is, Jalapeno barked, a mouse ran across the yard. Okay, you have lots of options here. You could say jalapeno barked because a mouse ran across the yard. Jalapeno barked, comma, when a mouse ran across the yard. A mouse ran across the yard, comma, jalapeno barked. Any of these are acceptable. Okay, last but not least, you're going to combine these two sentences, these two independent clauses, into one compound sentence. Betty taught for 10 years. Betty decided to stay home with her baby this year. Don't forget, you can drop things. You can add things. Make it make sense, but it still has to have the same meaning as the original two sentences. All right, so you could have wrote, Betty taught for 10 years, comma, but she decided to stay home with her baby this year. That would be an acceptable sentence. Let's move on. Okay, for all your hard work, here's a funny video to see at the end. So Madden NFL 15 is apparently a very realistic installation of the game. However, Christian Kirksey, who's a linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, the team selected in the 3rd round of the NFL draft this year, he is listed as 6'2", 235 pounds on the team's roster. But in the Madden game, there was a small problem. In the Madden game, he is listed as being 1 foot 2 inches. And so the game literally took it and made him 1 foot 2 inches. And so this is the result of that. He looks like a very tiny little player instead of a large 6 foot, 235 pound man. So that's our fun fact for the day, and I hope that you did well on your bell work today.